Well, hope everybody's doing well. Today we are working on Blood Rage for the Jack Vassal Memorial Foundation, and I'm going to be working on one of the monsters and the Raven Clan. And here's the two pictures of the Raven Clan, so I figured I'd start working on them. And this is going to be pretty much a pretty big series because it's going to take a bit, but we hope to get it done as fast as possible so we can get it shipped out. And that's the most important thing, is getting everything all caught up and shipped out. So first thing I want to do is I primed the monster black, and then I started to paint over him a bit, but I just want to touch up some of the areas I haven't touched. I'm using a Stegodon scale or a very dark turquoise. For those of you that like to follow along at home, and if I can find my brush, we'll be in pretty good shape. There we go. Nope, that's not the one I was using. Here we go. I'm using a bit of a thicker brush because all I'm trying to do is get the Stegodon green onto the big guy. And I think we may be using that because we're going to take a look at that photo. Last time I did this, I did not have the availability to see what everybody really looked like in the photo. So I'm pretty excited that I can do that. Now I'm taking this paint and we're just going to I'm going to put a little right here. We're going to add a touch of water to it. As I always say, we try to thin out our paints a little bit. Now, you're not worried about getting down here where the water is, and you're not worried about getting anywhere else on him. So you can be pretty free with a big brush and make sure that you get him really good. The only place that you need to be careful is you don't want to get the black inside his mouth that he was primed, because that's going to come handy later on when we do his mouth area. So we just want to get this all nice painted up. As you can see, I'm trying to keep where this camera angle is. I gotta work a little bit more on my lighting, but that is a process that we are constantly working on, trying to figure out what the best lighting for everything is now that I have that new lighting. Alright, so you see we got that on him, so that's great. And we're going to let that dry out. And then we're going to wash off our brush here. Now I'll also be working, I'm going to try to get these other three main characters done while I'm doing, these other guys. That was pretty good. One thing I noticed is that these guys are the plastic's pretty flimsy on them. I mean, it's a good solid plastic, but I definitely feel that it could have been, it's not GW plastic, let's put it that way. It's not a resin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start getting the first colors on these guys. Now let's take a look at this guy here. Alright, let's see if we can get that in there without too much glare. Now, he's got like a turquoise dress on. It's covered in silver. We got his flesh, white hair, and his outer stuff is all a dark brown. Alright, so that's what we're going to go for. That's what we're going to work with. So we're going to try to copy this exactly the way we see it here. So I think the first thing that we're going to do is we're not going to worry about his skin right away, because usually I like to paint his skin, but we're actually going to take care of the dark brown on this guy. And as you can see, he's got a shield on, so we're going to paint that inside of that shield a little bit darker. Now, we're going to paint this on here. And we could be messy with this. We're not worried about this right now. All we want to do is get that brown on. And onto the main parts here. Because we're going to be going over this with a good wash. And if you notice, this is on it to be turquoise, and I went over it already. It's not a big deal. We're going to come up over here, get that up in there. There we go. I'm not worried about his undercoat because that's all going to be turquoise. Helmet will be turquoise. All we want to do is just get that brown on him. And we're going to go over his boots in brown. I'm not going to worry about that right now. We're just going to try to get everything in here because most of it is metallic, believe it or not. So, and the inside of this wooden shield, we're going to go around with a dark silver, but we're going to paint the middle with a lighter brown. I think that's the way we're going to work with that. So we're going to put that down and just double check everything. For the dark fur, yeah, pretty much that's what it's, bear fur. That's all we're looking to do is to get. And whoops, boy, I'm just fumbling all over the place today. So we're going to get this fur area. And we're just going to get that brown really worked in there because we're going to wash over that and it's going to darken it up even more. And we're going to come up here. We're using I'm using a dark cocoa on this, Americana, just for those of you that follow what I paint. The different paints, I try to mix it up between the and you can see I'm really not worried about this because you know there's going to be a lot of cleanup to this. So all I'm worried about doing is just getting slopping the paint on, and we're going to take care of everything as we go. So I'll come back once we got this all situated. And now the other part of his clam, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to go over the dark fur and the edge of his spear. So all I want to do is I can be messy about it. I'm not worried about getting in his hair or on the shield or anything. All I want to do, and I could be as messy as I want because I have to clean it up later, is I just want to get these areas that are going to be that dark area, that fur. And just looking, just getting around, not worried about getting on the shield. As you see, these spears are just not, they won't stay straight. I mean, we could probably mold them into place, but we're not worried about that right now. And we're just getting around those fur areas. While the other guy's dry, as you can see, I got these guys where I've got that fur area the way I want it. Perfect. Let's just do another here. Just pour a little bit. Get a hair bit of water. There we go. You don't need a lot of water to water down Americana paints, that's for sure. Okay, so they break down pretty easily. And this will all come together, you know, as we're painting it. You'll see exactly what we're going for and how we're going about it. And if you make a mistake, don't worry. You can fix anything. So we're just going to work the edge of the spear Work the edge of the right into the part there. Okay, I'm going to make sure that we get all that fur. These are furry guys. We got the spear. So I'm going to finish up painting the rest of the spears and then we'll come back. So the next thing I did is, once our big fella's dried here, I just figured I'd save a little time and not bore you guys to death with painting the whole thing. Is all I'm doing is filling the water in with a blue, a light blue. And there's going to be many shades of water to this, so really don't worry about getting this in there really good. Some of the black is going to show through to begin with. And all you want to do is just kind of make sure that you get it in all the nooks and crannies here. And you want that blue to really just kind of get in there, like so. Right now it doesn't look like water, but it will become water when I'm done with it. We're going to put foam in there, and we're going to really just accentuate the water. But this is a nice good base point there. Now, if you remember, I told you not to paint the mouth. And there's to get any of that dark or stegodon scale green or turquoise into that mouth. There's a reason for that, and I'm going to show you right now. Now, doing mouths are one of the most difficult things that you can do, and there's a certain way to do it. First of all, you want, especially with an inside of a mouth of a monster like this, you don't want to lose the black, because the black almost becomes an illusion in a lot of ways. So what I like to do is I like to get in there and make sure I get his tongue, and you're going to use a true red for this. And you want to get all the way in there and try to get that tongue as best as you can, because the black is going to be an illusion for us. And that's how we're going to work it. We're going to make it seem like, you know, the shadows are not going to matter. And you'll see how this will all transpire as we do this. Now, as you see, I hit a little bit of his teeth there, but that's okay. So we got his tongue in his mouth, and you can see that how much of a difference that makes already. So, and what I just want to do there is just round it out and make sure I got all his tongue. There we go. So we got his tongue in there. Well, here's where the illusion part really starts to kick in. Is if you notice on the outside here, he's got gums and teeth. But what we want to do is we want to get those gums, because that's going to help us with the illusion that you know, inside his mouth is all finely painted. And we're going to come around the edge here, and we're going to work our way around in his gum area. And we're going to come up here. We're going to work the gums here. And don't worry about getting it on the teeth, because we're going to go over the teeth very shortly. And you'll see how this all kind of comes together. And we want to take the edge of our brush and just work it in there. There we go. Kind of in the front. There we go. So it doesn't look like much right now, but don't you worry, it eventually will get there. Alright, let's let that dry. Okay, next stage is we want to get kind of a finishing brush. And we want to go back to our turquoise. And we want to start working on these guys' uniforms. So I'm just going to put a little here. There we go. Take a little water, mix it in there, and we're going to grab one of the big guys here. And we have the brown all over the place, and we're just going to take and we're going to hit his entire uniform there. And you can see where it doesn't matter where I hit brown or I went over with the brown, because I can just go over with the turquoise. And we want to work it into his body area of his cloth, of his coat, in the middle here. Take a little more. It's on his pants as well, according to the photograph. And we're going to work right into the cloak. Back over here. We're going to leave this space open. We're going to come through here. I'm trying to keep this as neat as I can so I don't have to do extra work. But if you mess up on this, it's not something to worry about, because there's so many layers of this that's going to go on. It's really ridiculous. These guys are one of the more harder guys to paint out of this grouping. I learned that over the summer. And we're just going to come up and we're going to get in there, and then we're going to get in here, and we're going to make sure that we get back there. Check his shoulders, make sure we got in his armament, and you can see he's coming along pretty good. And we'll be shading all this. Once we put the metallics on this, this will really come out and really shine quite a bit. So we got the brown on, we got the turquoise on. I'm going to finish up the rest of these guys off camera. I got the teeth on, the white on the teeth, but we're going to be shading that, and we're going to be working on these gums in this mouth. So when you join me next time, we'll have all the turquoise on all these guys. We'll have the brown completely finished on them. And then we'll start adding in the metallics, which really make these guys come out. And then we'll work on their flesh. We'll be finishing up that particular monster. Then we'll start on the other three gods, monsters, whatever you want to call them, in the next episode. That should probably air tomorrow night. This one's airing tonight, so we've got a good start. I'm going to finish these guys up with the turquoise because you don't need to see that. I've already showed you once. I'll show you just to make sure in case you had any questions. But all this detail here, all this silver and bronze that's going to go in there, and you'll really see this guy start to come to life, and then we'll start getting him all painted up with his beard and his flesh, and these guys will come together pretty quickly. These guys the same thing, getting the turquoise in, and I'll show you those guys tomorrow as I'm doing it right now, as you can see. But it's just a very, very simple turquoise job on these guys, and just covering up. And you can see I didn't get all the primer on that I needed to get on, but that's okay because this is all gonna come together. All gonna come together when we start adding in the other flavors that come in here. And you could be, like I said, you could be messy with this. Yeah, I'm gonna come back here and tidy that up too, and you'll see it all tomorrow. That's it for today. We've got our sea monster going. We've got the Raven clan going pretty good. So that'll be nice if we get those done tomorrow. Then we'll move on to the next clan. Hopefully we can get halfway done with this box set by Friday. So that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. I'll go into even more detail. Right now we're just trying to get the primer colors on.